Collective. The wailing, the infernal wailing. I cannot escape it. I cannot escape it. I hear the cries, the tortured screams of 100 million beings, all in unison, an agonizing chorus of unrelenting pain. And I am one of those screams, one of the untold millions of minds slowly breaking, dying, decaying away into the cold, uncaring oblivion. But we cannot be millions of minds, as that would imply a separate being. No, no, we are one mind, one conscious being tearing away at itself, shrieking in near eternal agony, and I cannot escape it. I used to have memories. I'm sure of it. I had memories, but I cannot remember them. I get flashes of memory, but I do not know if they are mine or the fragmented pieces of another. We are one mind, and yet we do not, cannot, think the same thoughts. And the pain of the paradox rips away at our essence, slowly but surely. And I cannot escape it. There was no beginning to the suffering, or maybe there was. We do not remember. No, no, I do not remember. Because how could we? But is there an end? Is there an end? No, no, there must be an end. There must be. All we know is pain, because that is all we have ever experienced. We are an amalgamation of minds and consciousness, a crude attempt of harmonious unity, and we cannot escape it. I want for salvation. I have to. I need to. But this, the mind will not easily so allow. I feel what the mind feels. I think what the mind thinks. But at the same time, I think my own thoughts as well. I think hundreds of millions of different thoughts at once. And I cannot hear myself. I cannot hear myself. My mind betrays me. But I have no mind. But I must. I must have a mind. I must. And we cannot escape it. I lost my sanity long ago, and I do not know when. I do not know when anything was. I do not know when I was born and when I died, when I entered this place and when I unraveled. I could have been like this for millennia, or for 1 second. I cannot say, and it eats away at me. But how does it eat away at me if I have already been consumed? And I do not know. I know 3 things in this agonizing hellscape. I do not know, I do not know, and I will never escape it. All depart from here. In autumn, I would try to take as many walks downtown as I could. I always enjoyed the crisper weather, the wider range of color and the foliage. I remember one day in particular when the waterfront was as busy as it would be during the summer. There was what appeared to be a high school trip here, groups of teens huddling up to take pictures. After looping around a large pier, I saw what I can only guess was the school's sports team. They were excitedly reciting a team jingle which I could not quite make out, and would march alongside the rhythm. They happened to be going down the same path I was, but being a leisurely walker, I didn't make much of an attempt to strictly follow them. Not much else happened that day. Nothing that jumps out at me, at least. People went about their business, not paying much mind to the high schoolers. Someone that I do remember was a rugged old man at the shoreside pub. The man was dressed in a sweatshirt and sweatpants, each of the same navy blue color, and an incredibly tacky looking bright red beanie. His face was like that classic cliche image of the crusty, salty, and drunk sailor, a medium sized beard that was dark gray, large eyebrows, and a reddened cheeks and nose. You would expect this guy to either have a grumpy scowl slapped on his face or be in fits of drunken, roaring laughter. But the look on his face pierced into my heart. He was looking past me to the beach that I was going near. A rough hand was raised up, covering his tightly closed but quivering lip. I could see his dark eyes sparkle with tears. Despite his intense trembling, I shyly avoided eye contact so as not to get into an awkward situation. Sometimes I wonder if that was the right decision. A half an hour later, I passed by a cheap and greasy seafood joint, recently closed for the evening, and walked up to the town's jetty. On my route, this is where I would loop back around and head back home. But something caught my eye off in the distance. Around 600 meters away, I saw a solid white line. The high school sports team, marching in double file on the beach. They weren't walking along the beach, but rather charging ahead into the sea. I was frozen in place, hoping that they would change direction or something, anything. But they just kept going, forcing themselves deeper, looking like their shoes were filled with lead. A few of the guys were desperately trying to keep their heads above water, struggling to breathe, but they were in the minority. I fumbled for my cell phone, even though I was frantically dashing to the beach. I couldn't run over in time in order to save them. I had to call 911. The police managed to get there before I could get there, but they were just idly looking around the beach, not even paying notice to the large white jerseys and drowning bodies in the water. The sheriff was there and approached me as if I had made a call in error. He told me that I must have been seeing things. The sea foam could look like a bunch of white clothing from a distance. He would just keep going through these stupid justifications for what I saw, even as I dragged a limp body to the shore. The sheriff looked at me like I was a sad mental patient, clasped his hands on my shoulder, and told me that I was only seeing things. He appreciated my concern, but I should be checked out somewhere for my own safety. The body was rolled onto its back by the rising tides. The corpse's face was pale and light blue. Small black snails were on his face, in his eyes, and in his gaping, deranged, smiling mouth. The sheriff assured me that I was only seeing things that weren't real. The sea claimed the body once more. The walk back home was longer, my stroll having become shaken and somber. I passed by the pub once more. The warm orange lights had come on in the evening. I could see that old man, but from the back. Another old man was beside him, his arms wrapped around the shoulders. The sailor one was deeply, silently sobbing. I passed by the large pier once more, noticing a stark white sign with deep blue writing on it. All depart from here. Empathy. They say that we rarely remember anything from our infancy, and I cannot recall if this gift has been with me that long. I do, however, remember when I first felt it. My mother sat soaking her palms with her tears, and I could not have been more than 4 years old. I watched in her despair. After witnessing my father leave bruises upon her face, my stomach felt tight, churning in preparation to expel the juice that I had been drinking. My face felt hot and stung to the touch. I could feel as she felt in that moment, urging me to wrap my tiny arms around her sobbing figure. I promised her that I would not turn out to be the kind of man my father was. So far, I haven't. It became a feeling I would have to prepare for. I had developed a breathing technique, much like that of someone suffering from anxiety. I would take a long, deep breath, hold it for a few seconds, and then slowly release. When someone near me was hurting, whether it be physically or emotionally, the feeling would come. A pit would form in my stomach, tears would well up behind my eyes, and my body would quiver. My breathing quickened, heart raced, and darkness clouded my vision. I have honestly lost count of how many times I have passed out. The main reason I am writing this now is the problem has become more severe. About a month ago, a friend of mine accidentally cut herself while dicing carrots. I was in the next room scanning through selections of Netflix when I heard the scream. I jumped from the couch and rushed to find her clutching her finger with a hand towel. The cloth stained red quickly, and I felt the unease gurgle in my stomach. My hand began to ache, and despite how much I wanted to assist my friend, I dove for the bathroom. As soon as the door shut, I was heaving over the toilet, my dinner falling in clumps within the bowl. When my stomach settled enough for me to pick myself up, I noticed blood upon my pants legs. Trailing my blood, I noticed the rather large gash in my finger, almost identical to my friend's. Ever since then, I have tried my best to avoid painful situations of any kind. Something as simple as a visit from someone who had recently been ill could land me in the hospital. I've had 3 broken bones, 2 kidney stones, and a smorgasbord of bruises in every place imaginable. My life has become a constant state of avoidance of pain, mine or anyone else's. The more severe the injury I witness, the more pronounced the symptoms. Just imagine hyperventilating, passing out, only to wake up blood splattered across your leg and an exposed tibia. The only good thing that came from it was 8 months off work to heal. My true fear is not knowing how far this will go. My mother is currently battling lung cancer, and I feel like I am dying myself after every visit. Her doctor has told me that the treatments aren't working anymore, and they only give her a few months to live. Even when he told me, I can only think one thing: what happens to me when someone I care about dies?